What is going on, everybody, and welcome to Futures Trading with NinjaTrader. Of course, you know we've got a special guest coming up with us that hangs out with us every week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. The market is red. What are the best opportunities to go long, short? What about Bitcoin? Because it ain't looking pretty out there either. But we'll talk about all of that with Jim Cagnina here in a second. But let's get that intro going. What is going on, Jim? Appreciate you hanging out with us. And of course, that's Jim Cagnina, Senior Education and Training Specialist over at NinjaTrader. Has your morning been busy? Because it's a little hectic outside.
Oh man, Zanet, it's been great. I mean, we are in the golden age of futures trading. Everything's red across the board, right? Everything's selling off big time. There's reasons for that. But because we're trading futures, we can go short if we want, we can go long if we want, and you don't have to wait for your intraday margin to be released for any period of time. As soon as you're flat, you can go again if you see another opportunity. It's a great time to be doing this.
And I know someone mentioned make sure Zunaid watches a chat. I apologize. Last time I was busy doing the intro, so I didn't go back to the comments. So that's on me. But let's go ahead and pull up your charts. Because, yeah, you mentioned that everything is red, and there's a reason for that. So there are a lot of levels for us to take a look at. But why don't we just go ahead and start off with what your assessment is in terms of why everything is red? And then we can dive into the levels on the futures as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously all about inflation. There's no surprise there.
Yeah.
But really, the focus is on the FOMC, the central bank, and what they're going to do for the rest of the calendar year with respect to targeting their Fed funds rate that they set. And that's all eyes are on that. And it's been dynamic. It's moving around in terms of predictions of what it's going to be. And it's affecting everything for sure. And we're seeing this not only in the stock index futures, but also, treasuries is a good example. Even gold can't hold its own. Micro Bitcoin, which we'll talk about if we have time, is also getting hit. So all of these assets, it's risk off right now, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I saw the futures at like midnight and I was like, this is why I love futures because I can just hop on, trade a little bit, try to go ahead and lose some money, win some money. But thankfully, I've been doing pretty well on the future side. I'm not going to lie. Especially if you have a trend and you can play off of the levels, it works out really great. You've got Paul in the chat asking, how are the 10-year and 2-year futures looking? You want to answer that and then we can dive into the levels on SPY?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm just going to pull over my quote board here to make it easier. But the whole yield curve is hammered right now in terms of prices. Remember, in futures markets, we trade the price of the treasury instrument. So we have the 30-year on one end of the spectrum, and then it goes down to 10, 5-year, 3-year, 2-year, all the way down to the Fed funds rate. All of these are selling off big time, which means the opposite is true for yields, right? Because it's inversely related, and they are all getting whacked. Now, the other part of this story on the treasuries, now that you open the door for this, is the lower end of the curve, the ones, the twos, the threes. These, it's not a normal distribution anymore. It's a little bit inverted, a little bit of a flat curve, which means these lower interest rates, lower duration instruments have higher yields relative what they usually do in a normal market. So that's also going on as well. But all the treasuries, they're selling off big time today.
And then based off of that, how do you play the SPY, or excuse me, the mini futures based off of what you just talked about on treasuries?
Yeah, so let's take a look at this daily chart. Great question. I mean, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 exceptionally negative days, right, in a row. And we even this morning, see that gap right there. Let me just pull over a little. Whoops, that didn't work. Hang on, Jim. Right there, we have a big gap, right? That was on the open last night, right? It literally, it wasn't a continuous movement down. It was a giant gap. So there's no buyers here in this market. It's all sellers. We're trading at the bottom of the day, down 146 on the E-mini S&P. This is moving in unison with the SPY. For sure. And you see this in action. Again, no buyers yet. This market hasn't found equilibrium. And until Wednesday, we're going to have probably more of this when Powell does his press conference at 2:30.
All right. Now, You talked about the gap there. If someone wants to try to place a trade, which by the way, just for the folks that might be new, this is a simulated what you're seeing, right? Just to make sure we are following regulations and things like that. However, the data and the prices and everything that you're seeing is real time. So just want to make sure we make that very clear for transparency purposes. That being said, before we dive into the other futures, give me a couple of levels where, hey, we're trying to put this trade on.
Yeah.
And as you do that, are you looking to go long or are you looking to more so like sell the rips?
I would not go. I mean, I wouldn't go along with your money right now. I am not there. there's there's no bottom here. This is a 10-minute intraday chart
Yeah,
right now. And right, we're trying to sell the rips, I guess would be the way to put it. There just hasn't been any. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a Fibonacci retracement line right here just to give me a general idea, maybe some potential here. But 23.6% is 30 points higher. I mean, I would have to be patient and wait for that for sure. But I am not buying anything right now. So when we start getting up to around 37.83,
yeah.
then I would probably be interested in going short. I
So
have
let
the,
me
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
let me interrupt you there. The reason is, and you'll see my head swivel left and right because so for the folks that are not aware, I actually am looking to get into futures trading. So everything Jim says, I'm kind of asking because I want to know, and hopefully the viewers, you guys can enjoy it as well. So you see me look around, it's because I'm looking at my own charts and trying to place possible trades as well. Now you went ahead and drew the Fibonacci. Why did you select that level there? The 3880s, I believe, is where you were at.
In a regular day, so Fibonacci's are really good to give me an area of interest on a regular day.
Yeah.
Now, it's a little bit of an outlier today because you have to keep adjusting it because the market keeps moving down against you. So it doesn't
Right.
help as much as usual. But if we had a bottom here, let's say we had some area of support down here for, more than just one candle, several candles, I
Yeah.
would draw this and say, wow, this is the fib line. I'm not the only person who's drawn this fib line. It has a self-fulfilling prophecy, sometimes, not always. But I like to use these lines to give me an area of interest. Not to the point where, well, I'm going to sell the 3781s right now. But if it's going to line up with the VWAP, if it's going to line up with the bottom of the value area, if it's going to line up with the bottom, my lines all have to kind of match. And so then I want to pull the trigger. Right now, though, it's, just,
so if
I'd
the
rather
fibs line up with like VWAP, it's more of a confidence of, hey, here's where it should hold support. Here's where it should reject. Obviously, nothing is 100%, but that's kind of what you're looking at.
Right, exactly.
Got
And
it.
here's a great level right here. We have this volume spike here, this golden bar here. It's called the point of control. It's where the most volume traded. It's almost touching the VWAP line, and it's almost touching the 38.2. So in my world, it's like, wow, this is an important level right here. We might not get to it right now, but 3,800, and it's a psychological level too.
Yes,
3,800
it
psychological
is.
level. Yeah.
Yes, and I know you're a big fan of that as much as I am as well. Okay, so we talked about the levels, and I actually went short SPY around here. Let me actually pull up my broker so I can tell you. I actually went SPY via 380 puts, and we held that from 259s. I got out the last contract at $4, and of course, right now it's trading at 540. So 100% move there. But give me a couple of, because I've got my stuff up here as well. Give me a couple of levels of where you're looking to sell the rip, because I think that's what you talked about, and then we'll get into the other futures here in a moment.
Yeah. So from a futures point of view, again, I'm going to look at this lower band here.
Okay.
I'm going to look at my 23.6%. I'm going to be somewhere in the middle, around 30. Again, this is my opinion. 3780. It would be one unit. The second unit again would be up by the 38.2, so a 3,800 level as well, even right there. So those are two areas of interest. You could do a 2-unit trade. You could be conservative and wait. You could be more aggressive and take the lower level. But right around the 3778-ish area, give or take a couple ticks either way, would be a nice kind of pull back up with an expectation of more selling coming later. I'm just, this is just an extraordinary marketplace right now.
And now, if I remember correctly, you said, hey, with volatility like this, you just want to grab the minis, right? So the MES or whatever it might be on the platform. What is it on NinjaTrader?
So so there's micros, right? So the micros, you're right. Micros, there's a lot of meat on the bone there. So don't just kind of discard it. It's 1/10 the size, smaller contract, but it's easier to, accumulate positions for a longer term position trade. And, this is what it looks like. It's 100% efficient, right? So just about. And so the pricing is going to be the same on the regular E-mini versus the micro E-mini. And that's, it's a valid trade idea for sure.
All right, cool. So we're looking at 3780s for the first contract to be sold. And then, of course, we're going to try to see if there's a move above 3800 as well. Now, that 3780, right? Is there a
Mhm.
stop loss that we have, or are we just going to let it keep going because we're waiting to get a better entry as well and we're scaling in? So it's like, hey, not the full position, but we're slowly scaling in. Especially that's why you want to go with the minis because you've got a little bit of a bigger move in a range. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, for sure. And for sure. And with these micro contracts, you really give yourself some room, right? Because the relative risk is less, right?
Right.
It's still risky for sure, but the
Yeah.
relative risk is less and you can be more patient. So I have a rectangle up here from early this morning that's just kind of a visual crutch that I use to show me where short-term area of resistance is. And it's right in that rectangle here. So my stop would be above it, right? My stop would be above that area, not very much above it. But if we start breaking through this rectangle, then maybe it was a bad trade idea. Maybe I'm wrong. So you definitely, best practices, get your stop loss in because, everybody has losing trades for sure.
Yeah.
And then from an entry on a micro, you could even be more aggressive. So for instance, on the left-hand side, I see this volume spike over here, and I could kind of use it in my chart trader really easy with NinjaTrader. Say, all right, I want to sell a unit. We get back to that volume spike. It attracted a lot of buyers and sellers before. Here's another volume spike, which corresponds with my, 78, 79 level. Again, this would be another second unit, right? I'm just going to eyeball it, throw it in.
Right.
And then again, if you're super aggressive, hey, let's get to that point of control and do the third contract. So now by doing this, you'll have a 3-unit trade and you'll have an average position somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you could say, all right, and then if it keeps going, I'm wrong. It wasn't a retracement. Things are turning around. I want to get out. And you throw your stop. So that's a trade idea right there. I don't know if it's a good one or not, but this is something I would consider doing.
Okay, now with that being said, where are you looking to take profits? Would it be around 3750s or lower than that?
So in this particular case, I really want to see at least 2 units get filled. And
Okay.
I would try to get 1 unit off the table so I could start moving my stop close to break even. But
Yeah.
yeah, my first target's going to be new lows. It's going to be down here. That's going to be my first target is new lows. And then again, I prefer to get 2 units, and then that first target would be a good one, and then start trailing my stop down.
Awesome. And Paul, I do see your question, but I do want to make sure I see your nice little P&L there on the top. And again, it is simulated, but it is real-time trades that you're making as well. If you guys want, I believe they can check you out at ninjatrader.com/events because you do go ahead and stream live. Is that right? Tell us a little bit about that, then I'll answer Paul's questions. Or matter of fact, you will.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I'm doing all the work. No, I'm kidding you. I appreciate the questions. I do. So really, we're trying to do as many live streaming events as we can. So we have 2 every day. We have, it's called the opening range. That's, 9, 10 in the morning. And we look for trade ideas and setups. And we talk about technical analysis for that first hour where the market is open. And then again at the afternoon, it's called bars closing, 3:15. We look at the close and we do the same thing. In between, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we have special kind of interview events where we bring in experts and they have various points of view, kind of like what you're doing with me. We do
Yeah.
it also at NinjaTrader.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Now, the question that Paul had, here we go. Can you explain what happens if you sell a contract and it closes and settles for the day? Do you open at the same or do you hold or sell before the daily close?
So it doesn't matter, is the answer. The beauty about futures trading is as long as you have enough margin to carry a position overnight,
Yeah.
you could close it out whenever you want. These are 23-hour periods, right? There's only an hour break between the close and the open. And you could express your opinion or manage your trades, really Sunday night till Friday afternoon. So when you close your trade, it's just simple math, right? The difference between where you bought and sold, and that's your P&L. And so when you carry things over, eventually you're going to close the trade, right? And again, simple math, where you bought and sold. So it's up to you on how you want to participate. If you want to be a day trader and you want to be flat at the end of the day, that's fine. Or if you want to hold positions for a longer period of time.
And so it's pretty much similar to like a stock that you bought. It's just, hey, where it opens is where it opens. And the difference is your P&L. Nothing too crazy whatsoever. Awesome. It looks like we actually just went ahead and sold now. Is that right?
Yep. And so the NinjaTrader platform smart, it kind of puts a little label there.
Yep.
This is shows you it's color coded. It's red. I have 1 unit on or 1 contract on in the micro. my P&L, this is the unrealized mark-to-market P&L on the trade, right? I'm down 2 points. Now I'm down 2.5 points. Remember, each point's worth, there's traded in quarters. So you'll see that move around in real time.
Awesome. Love it. I'm actually going to looks like I've got my broker here. I am short at the 37.64 as well. I told you guys, look, I want to learn how to trade. So, hey, it's okay. It's fine because here, let me tell you why I wanted to get in, because you can see so Chad, if you guys remember when you traded with us, I said, hey, there's 2 levels that I want to take a look at when I go short to take profit. It was going to go ahead and be the, let me see here. The 3,800 obviously broke, and then it was going to be the 37.80s and then the 37.50s. And that's exactly the levels that we bounced off of, because I love those whole numbers and it's working out so far. But I agree with you 100%. That 3,800 level, I absolutely love as kind of being the resistance, because it held support for so long. I mean, you can see it from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. It kept bouncing from that $3,800 level. And so now we all know support turns into resistance. Resistance turns into support. So I like it. Let's go ahead and kind of take a look at Bitcoin, and we can take a look at some of your other favorite futures as well.
Yeah,
but let's talk about Bitcoin as almost at that $20,000 psychological level for us.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, nobody expected Bitcoin to behave this way, but it is. I mean, we're in bear mode right now. Just like every other, asset or tradable security or marketplace, whatever you want, however you want to define Bitcoin, it's in a downward trend for sure. So I'm looking for places to sell. We're already past S3 today, which is big, which is very, very, very negative here. And then I have my VWAP here, Zunaid, with my 1 standard deviation around it. We've been trading below it the whole day long. Again, I'd be probably looking for places to sell again if we started trading back above that bottom standard deviation line.
And then you'd be looking to get around. Okay, so you're waiting for it to possibly test it. If it does and rejects, that's where you're looking to sell. Or if it goes above, you're waiting for it to come back and then sell below. Is that right? Do I got that right?
Exactly. So exactly, you got it perfectly. So here's a good example. Around midnight last night, we broke it. We went all the way up to the VWAP itself. The VWAP held, and then just never recovered ever since then. And it's been down ever since. So, you have a couple of opportunities. Wait till you get into that shaded area, or if you're really conservative, just wait to see if you can get to that VWAP again, volume weighted average price, and then and see if you can get a position there. That's, again, I'm bearish here. I would not be interested in trying to buy right now.
Now, you and I had talked about natural gas last week. So let's go ahead and head there, because I think there was that $10 level that we were kind of focused on. If we can get above that on natural gas. And I want to see what the play looks like there.
Let's see if I have it on here still. I do. I just got to find it. Nat gas NG. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. So technically we're hitting some areas of resistance up here around 940. And we're kind of bouncing off it a whole bunch of times here. If we break out on through up, I think we can get to that $10 level. We got close, but no cigar a few sessions ago around 968. And now we're kind of retracing nicely back down, which is good news for the world, by the way. But if I drew another line right where my crosshairs is, I would say we're in a sideways channel right now.
Yeah, I can see that range there, right? So now if you wanted to wait for a play here, right, folks should either wait for a breakout above, let's say 950, because I like whole numbers and, areas like that, or they wait for a break of 8 to go ahead and sell. Any advice on that, or does that sound like a solid guidance? You know what I mean?
You could, I mean, there's a couple of points of view. One point of view is, hey, I want to buy a breakout on the way up. I want to sell a breakout on the way down. Or other people will look at this chart and say, hey, when we get down to the bottom of this channel that you drew, I want to buy because I think we're going to be trading within the channel. If we get to the top of the channel, I want to sell because I think we're going to be trading inside the channel. Keep in mind, natural gas is a supply and demand market. You got to kind of pay attention to the news and to the government reports on this market.
Yeah. All right. And now, is there another futures or some other futures that you kind of want to take a look at that you feel like, hey, there are solid opportunities to trade, buy or sell? But actually, before we go there, I see you've got the RSI up there, and I see you've drawn a trend as well. Now, I've seen some folks do that. I personally don't. So teach me a little bit about that and why you like to draw trend lines on RSI.
Yeah, so I did this because there was divergence, right? So you had a high here and then it got a lower high and a lower high while the market was kind of rallying. So I noticed that as divergence. And when I see that, it's like, all right, there's going to be a point in time where it's not diverging anymore. And it's time to take action at that point. So that's why I drew it this way. I just wanted to kind of show folks the divergence between the prices and the RSI peaks. Yeah, we had some dislocation here for a couple of days, but otherwise, other than that, the trend is down on the RSI. I think the trend's more important, to be honest with you, as a need than it is whether it's overbought or oversold. I think the idea of overbought or oversold is kind of funky, right? Over 70, under 30. I think it's kind of random, and you could be overbought for a long period of time and be taking it on the chin.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, okay, cool. Are there other futures that you're kind of taking a look at where you're like, hey, solid opportunity here?
Solid opportunity. Euro FX versus the US dollar. Remember, this is a currency cross where we're talking about FOMC versus the ECB, right? And actually, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about that with Jimmy Urio on our See the Futures trading show. It's tomorrow at 10:30. But really, this is a competition between interest rates, right? So where is who's going to be more hawkish? Who's going to be more dovish? Right now, FOMC more hawkish, especially as compared to the ECB, which means the Euro FX Forex futures contract is going to be weak. I am definitely looking for places to sell this. We're approaching a double bottom right here. I think we could break on through there right now.
So you'd be looking for a break of that double bottom to go short on that side. Now you mentioned the FOMC, and so I think you also have a nice little tool that you like to use, and that's the CME Group Fedwatch Tool. What is that, and how do you use that to help you trade?
That's right. That's right. And here it is. Here's the link right here. If you just type in Google CME Fedwatch Tool, this is basically based on the Fed funds futures, which trades on a monthly contract pretty far out in the time.
Yeah.
And there's an algorithm here that CME uses to kind of predict where the Fed funds should be going forward. And they made this really cool matrix, which basically tags every single FOMC meeting for the next 12 periods, right? And as an example, Wednesday's meeting, we're expected a 65.7% chance that Fed funds are going to be targeted between 125 and 150 basis points.
Yeah.
And a 34% chance that Powell's going to say, hey, we're targeting 150 to 175 instead. So these probabilities move around in real time, day to day. Every morning I look at this, and I really like to look at December and see where's the blue, where's the most probable in December, and it's 34.5%. We're going to be trading between the 325 and the 350 area, basis point area, with respect to targeting here. And this shift, we shifted over 2 whole columns in the last week, totally aligned itself with this big break down on the S&P. That's why I'm pretty convinced that it's 100% related right now.
All right, give me some a little bit of wiggle room here, because I got a dumb question coming up for you. But I assume so where you've got meeting dates and you've got those basis points there, those are percentages. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah. So this would be 1.25 to 1.5.
That's what I thought. Okay, cool.
1.5 to 1.75. The Fed tends to move into quarter increment points.
That's what I thought. I didn't want someone to think it was like SPY levels and they're like going crazy about it then. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no. ECB does something different. They'll go 0.2, instead of 0.25. They'll do stuff like that. But the Fed typically doesn't. They kind of go in increments of a quarter. And so when I say basis points, just think 1.25. When you go all the way to December, think 3.25 to 3.50.
Got it. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the futures on the SPY area, because it looks like we are having a little bit more of a move to the upside from that 3750 level, and I want to try to get your insight here on that. So now that we're down about 12 units on 12 points on this one. 12 units would be insane. 12 points on this one, but we're still kind of waiting because we know our game plan is to, hey, the ultimate resistance area is that $3,800. Is that correct? Or 3,800.
Yeah.
Level.
We have a little bit of work to do. I like to try to get 1 unit off the table if we can. So I'm going to target these lows here. I'm going to be maybe 1 tick above the previous candle's lows for just 1 unit.
Yeah.
Just 1 unit. And I'm assuming we're not going to get this 3rd unit. We might get it, but by doing this, let's say the market breaks down and we get our unit, right? Which means we bought one of the two back. So
Right.
instead of being short 2, we'd only be short 1. Then what I would do is move my stop to break even plus a little bit, and then put even a further target on the downside to buy back the second unit.
Got it. And that's exactly how you have that risk reward. Now, when it comes to risk reward, and I want to get to your tip of the day here in a moment, are you usually going for like a 1-to-1? So if only one unit got filled, are you looking for like a 1-to-1 in terms of risk reward? Or do you personally like to have a 2-to-1? Or is it more so based on, hey, depends what the chart gives me?
If that's what the chart gives you, it's support and demand. It's support, it's support and resistance. It's what the chart tells you. And I think a lot of traders when future traders make mistakes by coming up with just a general catch-all rule.
Yeah.
That doesn't always work. 2-to-1 sounds good, right? Hey, if I make 2-to-1 more times than I lose, then I'm gonna do well. I mean, that rule is something, but again, it's where are buyers coming in at, where are sellers coming in at, and then make your decisions around that. What do the wicks look like? Up here earlier in the month. Sorry, I'm pointing my finger. These are big wicks. Sellers push this back down. Look at this candle right here, 930. 940. Sellers pushed it down. Sellers pushed it down. Big wicks on the top. This is not bullish. This is bearish. And sure enough, we finally broke on through down here. We have a big selling wick right now on the contemporary candle. So I think that we're positioned pretty nicely right now on this particular trade. And I'm not doing the math on where is my stop in the is that too much risk and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chart, and I think that's important. And look at the unrealized P&L here. This is on this position we have here. Again, it's micro, so you could be patient. We could wait. Yeah. We're not too frustrated.
Yep. And then I absolutely love the fact that we kind of had a game plan of, hey, here's the first unit we're going to sell. If it gets to this, we're going to go ahead and sell some more. And you're not having a game plan is so important, Chad, because you don't want to go into a trade. And then when you see a P&L that's unrealized of 100, you kind of freak out and you don't know what to do. Having a game plan of entry, stop, and profit taking is huge. But it is time for the tip of the day. And shout out to Enver for this cool little intro. Love it. And talk to me about your tip of the week.
I love that too. That was awesome. That's a new one.
Yep. We're trying to do some new stuff, but talk to me.
Awesome. All right. Remember, FOMC week, right? So a couple of things are going to happen. One, we're going to have an official government announcement, 2:00 Wednesday. It'll be 2 pages long. It'll say, what the target Fed funds rate is, and it'll talk about if they're going to taper their balance sheet quicker or just let it run off as this game plan last month. My guess is they're going to be very hawkish. In other words, very aggressive going forward on these interest rate hikes, and it's going to surprise the market a little bit, or maybe the market already knows it, and that's why we're selling off. But really, the tip is, I crossed it out. Stop thinking it can't go any lower.
Yeah,
it might not. Hopefully it doesn't. But get that out of your head and trade both sides, and go with the candles.
All right, now and I remember our conversation from last time. You are not putting on a position before. You're waiting for the news to come out. You're waiting for the madness to settle in. And then based on that, you take a look at the chart and make your position and your entry that way. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, I don't like to trade in front of news events. I think it's even if the expected result is what you expected, a lot of times the market behaves in an irrational way anyway, and you end up getting stopped out, and you were directionally right, and you get frustrated. I would kind of wait a little. I'd like to wait a little bit for the dust to settle, and then make some kind of logical decisions.
Absolutely love it. Now, we've got about less than a minute here. Is there a daily level that you want our viewers to kind of focus on, where you're like, hey, later on this week, obviously, unfortunately, we don't get to hang out with you, but is there a level where you're like, absolutely, this should be, what do you think is like the biggest support area that folks should pay attention to?
That's a good question here. Let me just pull up that daily chart. I could even do a weekly chart if you want. Here's a weekly chart. Now, the problem with that is this is all blue sky. This is, white space below it, right? You have to go all the way back. Literally, I'll just draw my crosshairs over here. When's the last time we traded at these levels? Back in March 5th last year. And then if you really want to look at pre-COVID, you can go to March 2020 and you can get an idea what's going on there. So it's really hard to say that there's a specific level. However, on the upside, you said it, support becomes resistance, resistance becomes support. So I know we're pressed for time here, but let me just show you this daily chart right now. So when you see these areas like where this line was, this was resistance, right? Right at 49, not 40.90, it's become support. And we've broken through it, but this is going to stay on my chart as an important level right here. Sorry, my line's not straight. So again, that's going to be an important level. My fib lines are going to be an important level once we get a bottom. We're trading off the lows, but not that much. So again, the downside, you don't have a lot of information to deal with. So be open-minded.
Absolutely love it, man. Such great information. Wish we could hang out a little longer, but that's going to do it for us. That is futures trading with NinjaTrader. And of course, we got a chance to hang out with Jim Cagnina, Senior Education and Trading Specialist over at NinjaTrader. Jim, it's a pleasure. We will see you next week. And I'm going to go ahead and play this intro so Enver doesn't get mad at me. See you guys on the other side.